What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today, I'm going to get into both the NLCS between the Mets and Dodgers and the ALCS with the Guardians taking on the Yankees. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Got the wall. He jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, getting into the episode, previewing the championship series, and starting on the NL side of things with your New York Mets, the Grimace Mets. As I was watching that Dodgers-Padres game last night, I was thinking, who do I want to win this game, which leads into who would I rather the Mets play in the next round? My answer ended up being the Dodgers because I just don't think they have the pitching to hang with the Mets. Like the Mets lineup has the ability to go out there on any night and just kill a pitcher. Just go ham and put up 6-7 runs like it's nothing. And for the Dodgers, I mean, you got Yamamoto is really the only starter that started the season in the rotation and is still pitching because at the end of the day, they faced a lot of injury problems, and that's part of the sport. It happened to the Knicks, obviously, and that's why their run was ending. And I could see a similar thing happening here with the Dodgers. And then the other reason I would want to play the Dodgers, their lineup doesn't have the depth like the Mets. Like with the Mets, I would say 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 consistently puts up numbers and helps the team win. But with the Dodgers, you've got Mookie, Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez at the top of the lineup. And then, yeah, you got Kike Hernandez, who has the 8th most homers among active players down there in the 5 or 6 spot. But the Mets lineup is deeper, let's face it. And I talked about this confidence I have with the Mets a couple episodes back. I think 2 episodes back, where it was like as if I completely trust the Mets, even though they might be down early, or they're facing a better team with better pitchers on the mound, and they're still losing. I just have a confidence that they're gonna win, come back and win. Someone's gonna step up and put on a performance that wins them a game, and I think that continues here. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't. The Mets have been the best team in baseball since the start of June, so why would I think that that's going to change? I mean, it doesn't seem like it will. And also the reason I wanted to play the Dodgers because the Padres have been just as hot as the Mets. They've been the best team since the All-Star break, and Tatis was playing on another level before they got eliminated. So that was probably the bigger reason, but the pitching is where I think the Mets take the real advantage. And staying on the topic of pitching, I don't know why Mendoza's going back to Kodai Senga to pitch Game 1 of the NLCS. I mean, Senga in Game 1 of the NLDS threw 2 innings, allowed a run, a leadoff homer to Kyle Schwarber. And he looked fine after the homer. I think he allowed another base runner, maybe 2. But at this point, I feel like Sean Manaea is your ace. I mean, 7 shutout in Game 3, his only game of the division series. And I would have trusted Manaea, and then I would have went to Senga Game 2 as almost a safety blanket. Because when he was in Japan pitching, he was known for these big games, these playoff games, high intensity, high leverage. That's where he made his money on. And that's where I think Mendy should have pitched him in Game 2 and giving Manaea the game one start. And then you come back home to Citi Field and it'll be Severino Quintana, I would assume. But if they're down, if they're down if they're down, and they're about to get swept in game 4, you've got to pitch Manaea or Senga on what might be short rest, but you cannot let your season end without your top guys pitching. And that's the thing with what the Phillies did. I don't know why they didn't pitch Zach Wheeler in game 4 and saved either Christopher Sanchez or Ranger Suarez for a potential game 5, which never happened. But that's what I would have done if I was Rob Thompson. I would have pitched Zach Wheeler because if I'm the Phillies, I'm not going to let this season end without my ace and Cy Young candidate pitching twice in this series. That would not have been happening. And I think that's the way that Mendy's got to manage this series. If the Mets go down big early, the top guys have to go not as a safety blanket, but as like these are our top guys. They're going to stop the bleeding and we're going to get back on our feet and get back into this series. And then transitioning to more the hitting side of things, I already mentioned it. I have a random feeling that Brandon Nimmo will be the guy in this NLCS. I mean, he talked after the NLCS, talking about how much hard work the Mets have put in to get to this point, that how everybody hasn't seen everything behind the scenes and what went into it. I think he's going to step up and have a huge NLCS, putting this team on his back. The Dodgers don't have a lot of lefty pitchers, so he's going to have the advantage for a lot of at-bats. And same thing with Jesse Winker. I think having a hot Jesse Winker in there for the majority of these games is going to be awesome. Jesse Winker has a swag, and it's just he's so much fun to watch, and he lives for the big games like this. He's almost like a mysterious person. I mean, just shows up, breaks. He's in the locker room, smoking a cigar, watching everyone celebrate in the corner after the NLDS. While everyone's getting interviewed, he's just standing there watching. He's going to have a huge NLCS. Nimmo and Winker are the guys to me. I think Marte starts to cool off a little bit. I think Lindor keeps going. And here's the thing. So you have, for the NLDS, you had Iglesias and you had Luis Angel Acuna on your roster. Jeff McNeil will be coming back, and he will be on the NLCS roster. Do you carry Luis Angel Acuna and drop maybe like a Danny Young or a Oscar Brazaban? Or do you drop Acuna and carry Jeff McNeil? So the question is essentially, do you carry an extra position player or an extra pitcher? For me, I would personally drop the reliever because Acuna he brings an element of speed that the Mets are missing. They've got Bader and Acuna for pinch runners, and Acuna can play center field if needed, which is big time for defensive substitutions late in games. Like Danny Young or Wasker Brasban will not be pitching in this series. I'm sorry to tell you if you're a huge Wasker Brasban fan, but he's not going to get an appearance in the NLCS after he sucked for the Mets this year. So that's where I would go. I would definitely go extra position player and carry Acuna and McNeil over carrying Danny Young, who's not going to pitch. All right. My prediction for the NLCS: in 6 games, the New York Mets will advance to their first World Series since 2015. I mean, I already told you, I think they have the edge on pitching. I think their lineup is deeper. And they have that power of friendship feel, the team of destiny feeling, where I just don't think they're going to lose. Whether it's all the gimmicks, whatever. I just have no feeling that this team will be losing 4 games to the Los Angeles Dodgers. All right, let's transition to the ALCS. Yankees, after beating the Royals in 4 games, I mean, they did what they were supposed to. It should have taken 3 games. They're a way better team, way more talented. um, but I think the Yankees win. I think it'll be 5 or 6 games. I mean, they're way better. That's the thing. I mean, the Guardians were good all season, but they don't have the talent to stack up with the Yankees. They don't have an Aaron Judge. They don't have a Juan Soto. They have Jose Ramirez, but he's not that alpha who is in the MVP conversation. I mean, J Ram is absolutely super underrated, and he does not get talked about enough. But the rest of that team is not good enough. And what it's gonna be is it gonna be the Yankees beating a closer in Emmanuel Clase, or is it gonna be the Guardians beating the Yankees ace and Garrett Cole? Because if Emmanuel Clase gets got for another game like he did in the NLDS, it didn't hurt the Guards in the ALDS, but it could hurt them in the ALCS with a much more potent and veteran-led Yankees offense. But if the Guardians can beat Garrett Cole 1 out of the 2 starts he makes, because he's going to make 2 if this goes deep, I think the Guardians have as good as a chance as anyone to win this series. If I was Aaron Boone, I would have started Garrett Cole game 1. That way you might be able to squeeze 3 starts out of him. I mean, the dude's a competitor. He hasn't won a World Series. He got beat by the Nationals in 2019. He wants to get back there and win this time. So if that means pitching him on short rest 2, maybe 3 times this series, I would be all for it. You got to squeeze everything out of him. It's winning time now. But starting game 2, he's still going to make 2 starts in this series, and he'll pitch a game 7 if necessary. But I would have liked him more pitching game 1, because, like I said, it would have given him more, just another appearance, which is huge. The other thing for the Yankees is Aaron Judge absolutely has to step up. I mean, the dude is a freak of nature, and in the regular season, hitting almost 62 home runs for for the second time, almost breaking his own single season home run record. And then he does absolutely nothing in the ALDS. And this has been a theme throughout his career. If it's not now for Aaron Judge, it's not going to happen in the postseason. I mean, he's got so much protection in the lineup. Glaber's hitting, Soto's hitting, Austin Wells is hitting, Jazz Chisholm. There is so much talent surrounding him, and he's just not doing it. It's time for Judge, and it's got to happen. Getting back to the pitching for the Yankees, though, I know I'm a little bit all over the place right now. Starting game 1 for the Yankees, the starter has not been announced yet. It's going to be Carlos Rodon or Clark Schmidt. I don't like either of those options. I would save Rodon for game 3, which would be in Cleveland, just to get him away from the New York fans. Because everybody knows, listening to this podcast, if you follow the Yankees at all last year, that Carlos Rodon cannot handle the Yankee Stadium pressure and the fans. It gets to him too easy, and that's just a fact of the matter. So I think saving him for game 3, letting him pitch in Cleveland, which, yes, it's going to be a hostile environment. It's going to be better for him to pitch there in Cleveland than for him to pitch at Yankee Stadium. But I also don't like starting Clark Schmidt in game 1 of the American League Championship Series. I would start Luis Gil. I mean, Gil hasn't pitched in a while, so it'd be good to get him just an appearance and see what he can do, because every time he's came off a lot of rest, he's had a big start. And then you also have Marcus Stroman in the bullpen looming if he doesn't have a good start. That's why you carry Marcus Stroman on the roster. Because if a starter can't get through the first 3 innings, you need a bulk guy to come in behind him. And that's what Stroman would do. So you can use that tandem, almost like the Mets are going to do with Kodai Senga and David Peterson. It's a little bit different of a scenario, but you get what I mean. So Luis Hill would be my game one starter, and I think the Yankees win in 5 or 6 games. But the Yankees could sweep if they get off to a good start and they continue that hot momentum. We might have ourselves a Subway Series on hand. How insane would that be? I'm not going to talk about it in too much detail yet because the Mets have a lot of work to do beating the loaded Los Angeles Dodgers. And the Yankees definitely have work to do facing the Guardians, who they're not a weak opponent. They're going to be good. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm your host, Ben Ballion. Make sure you check out all my socials linked below. Like, comment, and subscribe on this video. And keep it locked with the Sports Pod.